Hi. I'm pretty used to people gently teasing me about my obsession with media literacy and my belief that it should be taught in kindergarten and continued all the way up until forever. And I think that most of us can agree that social media has seen the multiplication of memes, images, videos, opinion pieces, and more in an unprecedented way in media history. And if you doubt the power of the media, I want you to ask any woman in North America if she has always embraced her body image and tell me what she says. I'm not sure I can name one woman who hasn't gone through a period where they didn't like something about their bodies or their face and were trying to eat less or said they shouldn't have eaten that burger, etc., etc. And now we have filters that erase our wrinkles, we have procedures through which blemishes can disappear, etc., etc. So I'm going to ask you, what do you think we learn from images without context or images only within a certain context? I want you to ask yourself and try to be honest, which types of stories or images frightened you as a child, or which types of images and stories comforted you? What skin color and hair color did the princesses have? And there's no judgment here. We grow up with narratives that are thrown in our faces, but we are not usually taught how to question them. And now I'm going to ask you, what did you grow up learning about Indigenous people, about Black people, about gay people, about Arabic people, about Jewish people, about Muslim people, about Chinese people, about Iraqi people? What did you learn about nerds and about popular girls and about smart people? What did you learn about Russian people and American people and Canadian people? What did you learn about blondes? Was there ever a group of people that were missing or underrepresented in your childhood storybooks? Did they ever feature only one type of person? And how many times did you stop to question what and how you viewed these people and where these ideas came from? Now I'm going to ask you this. When it comes to the Middle East, which people have you actually met from this region? Which people have you met through social media, through books, through film, through television? And within this context, I want you to ask yourself, and it takes a strong stomach and mind to answer truthfully, which countries do you know about in the Middle East and why? How many leaders of Middle Eastern countries can you name? Do you know more about one country than about another country? If so, why? So here are some facts that you can check if you'd like, and even these countries can be debated as to whether they're in the Middle East or North Africa, etc. Some are countries, some are territories. I'm not interested in defining that. I'll read some off, but there's Saudi Arabia, there's Turkey, there's Cyprus, there's Syria, there's Lebanon, there's Iraq, there's Iran, there's Israel, there's the West Bank, there's the Gaza Strip, there's Jordan. Then there are the North African countries, which can be debated whether or not they're in the Middle East. There's Tunisia, there's Algeria, there's Morocco, and there's Egypt. What do you know about any of those countries? Is there one country or some countries in particular that you know more about, and why? Is there one country in that region that can be defined differently? How? So if there is one country that's different, what is it about this country that makes it different, and why? I'm going to ask you some questions now, and it's not to make anyone feel stupid because I am by no means an expert in anything. I'm going to read off some key points that I've learned in my life, but I'm going to ask you, what do you know about the Ottoman rule in the region? Do you know what nationalism means? If so, how does it apply to this area? Now I'm going to ask you, do you know who Theodore Herzl is? And if so, have you ever read Herzl's words from his own books or from his own mouth? Do you know where he came from? Do you know the context from which he came from? Do you know if Zionists were religious people? Do you know if all Israelis are Jews? Do you know if all Palestinians are Muslim? Do you know if all people who live in Israel are Muslim or Jewish, or are there other types of people who live in Israel as well? What do you know about suicide bombings, and what do you know about checkpoints? Do you know who the Druze are? Do you know who the Bedouins are? Do you know who the different factions amongst the Jews are? Do you know who the different factions amongst the Muslims are? Do you know who the different factions amongst the Christians are? If you go back to year 0, do you know who was evicted by whom? Do you know who lived where? Do you know about the Balfour Declaration? Do you know about the British role in the region? Do you know what happened in 1936 and amongst whom? Do you know what a two-state solution is? Do you know what it was like in Palestine during World War II? Do you know about the Patrician Plan of 1947? What do you know about what's called either the 1948 War of Independence or the Nakba? What do you know about the Six-Day War? What do you know about the role that Egypt and Jordan played? What do you know about the role that Israel played? Now, what do you know about the countries that border Gaza and the West Bank, respectively Egypt and Jordan? And what do you know about the Sinai Peninsula and the Golan Heights? And what do you know about Jewish settlers, about Palestinians, about religious Jews, about Arab Israelis, of whom you can divide subgroup after subgroup after subgroup, and I'm only scratching the surface on all the groups. What do you know about the retreat from Gaza? What do you know about Fatah? What do you know about the West Bank? What do you know about Mahmoud Abbas? What do you know about Hamas? What do you know about Ariel Sharon? What do you know about Sephardic Jews, and what do you know about Ashkenazi Jews? What do you know about East Jerusalem, and what do you know about Sheikh Jarrah? What do you know about what's going on with the Uyghurs in China? What do you know about what's going on in Ethiopia? What do you know what's going on with the leadership in Venezuela? What do you know about the meanings of the words genocide and ethnic cleansing? Have you read Hamas's charter? Have you read Israel's independence charter? Have you read the definition of the term terrorist? What is a terrorist to you? And now I'm going to ask you, have you ever been the victim of a single story? Now, thinking of all the questions I just asked you, how insane is it to paint anyone with a single story? So back to body issues and Disney princesses. Why are we able to talk about this without feeling uncomfortable? Why can't we acknowledge that we live in the gray zone? I personally don't know anyone who lives in the black and white zone in reality. Maybe in their head they do. Ask yourself, why can't we hold multiple narratives in our head without feeling threatened? Why is it so hard to read about issues that genuinely make us uncomfortable from different sources? I'm not talking right now to the extremists who aren't willing to listen from anywhere. I'm talking to most of us who live in the middle. And I'm going to ask you this, and I want you to think about it. Are you guilty of believing in a single story about a group of people? And if you are, which we all are, what can you do about it? You need to stop taking information shown on social media. You need to stop looking at quotes without Googling if they're true. You need to stop listening to people, anyone, without checking their credentials. So if anyone's still listening to me, I want you to ask yourself, why is everyone so obsessed with Israel and Palestine? Is it because Israel is full of Jews? Is it because you identify with Palestinians? You need to understand why you are obsessed with this country and with these territories. And everyone needs to engage in dialogue with someone whose ideas and opinions make them uncomfortable. There are many people who are pro-Palestinian who are not violent. And there are many Jews who want peace in the Middle East. So I'm begging you, stop painting people with a single narrative. It's uneducated, and quite frankly, it fuels hate. And that's my plug for media literacy.